Yeah, yeah. All right, here we go. How's it going, man?
Good. It's
All
been a
right,
while.
it's been a while,
Yeah.
dude. It's been a while. Hey, Patrick here, Nicholas Bertner, School of Permaculture. We're doing a Q&A. Today was an awesome day. Right behind the camera over there, we did session 2 of a cleanup, kind of inherited a dilapidated garden. There's 12 raised beds. Going to go ahead and use it for this season. May even keep it there for when people come and want to garden with us here at the School of Permaculture's new site. Behind me is the Langstroths that we have. We've got some active bees. I hope I don't get stung. These aren't the most gentle bees. And a little bit further that way will be probably the kitchen garden when everything's kind of constructed. But I hear there's some good questions
Yeah.
in the interwebs.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, let's do it.
Well, I know there's a lot of talk that's circulating, especially coming into spring, concerning grasses that were taken over different areas like last summer, last spring. At least up here in North Texas, we've had a lot of run-ins with Bermuda grass that's shown up and just takes over. So a lot of people ask, what can you do to handle Bermuda grass, prevent it, deal with it once it's already gotten a hold of your bed or whatever it is that you're gardening with? What are some good methods that you can do?
Oh man, so are we talking like a raised bed?
Raised beds or just a big garden in general that maybe the Bermuda hopped over and just took off?
So, I mean, so it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if it's a raised bed,
Yeah.
and the Bermuda has infiltrated it from the sides, like there's nothing you can do but start over.
Right.
But that's not 100% accurate, right? So I guess like if you really wanted to keep that area, right, you're just gonna have Bermuda grows in hot areas, right? So
Right.
you're just gonna have to like skip over spring garden, and you're gonna need to tarp it with an opaque tarp. You could try solarization. There are a lot of people who've had success with it. I haven't had success with solarization. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. User error for sure. uh, but an opaque tarp, maybe across, like if it's just one garden bed, like no big deal, but I have a feeling like something like this, like there's 10, 12, 16 beds or whatever.
Yep.
So like tarp the entire thing at like the beginning of spring and let it just be completely nullified of solar radiation.
Right.
And so photosynthesis doesn't happen. And so that'll eventually kill the Bermuda. So that's the goal. And if you're only going to do that and use no other tool, then like whatever area that you're doing, like go out an extra 6 or so feet.
Okay.
And kill everything 6 or so feet away
like
from
a perimeter.
that. Yeah, the perimeter.
Yeah.
And then check it late August, September, like in our area, right?
Yeah.
So like that's going towards the end of summer, going into autumn, and then if everything looks dead, then you're like good for maybe a fall garden or like prep it for the spring. All right, now with that said, you can't just leave it that way. You have to put a grass barrier around it. And so the grass barrier can be a number of things, right? I would typically put if the climate could support it, 3 types of plants.
Okay.
Right? Canna lily, if you get the edible version, like Canna edulis and Canna. There's another one too, right? So if you can do that's great. So it's like dual purpose. You can pull up the roots and turn them into like noodles and starchy material, and the shoots are also edible as well.
Wow. Okay.
But not even if it's just canna lily, that's great. And so like every foot, and then come in diamond pattern.
Yep.
And then like every foot comfrey.
Okay.
And then go out diamond pattern again, and like every foot lemongrass.
So basically you're saying this would be like a wall that you're planting these 3 together on the outside after you've already killed the Bermuda and it's gone cut back basically.
Yeah, and you would need to do that kind of in the middle of the 6-foot border that you could,
Right.
because if you put it at the edge, those will just get infiltrated with the Bermuda.
Okay.
So those need some time to grow.
Yeah.
So you kind of put them in the middle of that 6 foot, and then on the outside of those, you may need to run a tiller for a couple of years to prevent, like, roots from really the Bermuda roots from grabbing a hold while those were growing. And actually, I think I told you in the wrong order. Like, it doesn't really matter, but like height-wise, spatially, it's canna lily, lemongrass, comfrey.
Right. Okay.
And comfrey and lemongrass can somewhat be a little of the same height. It just like if you're in Oregon, comfrey grows as a weed, right? So
Yeah.
Like explode. Down closer to Austin, further south, lemongrass is going to be that way.
Okay.
So I guess figure out where you're at. Where we're currently at, lemongrass is a hit or miss. It doesn't work all the time, and so maybe 2 rows of comfrey or something. But that's gonna create a really thick root zone.
Right.
That's hard for the rhizomes of the Bermuda to get through once established.
Okay.
And then it's going to create a lot of shade, which the stolons of the Bermuda, which are runners, so the rhizomes do it under the ground, right? And then the stolons do it above the ground. If I'm remembering the plant anatomy, that it's shade is what it's like. It's the only thing that'll kill them other than nuclear destruction. And so that's kind of what you got to do, and then go in, and then you can use the Bermuda that died over that half a year to as organic matter. Then
carbon.
And hopefully it didn't seed, because then however, seeded Bermuda, because you can't keep it out because they float in the wind.
Okay.
They're real easy to pull out.
Oh, that's good.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So it's a bane, man. It's a bane.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult one, and if you're into gardening, and it's like the gardener's nemesis.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know from all the homesteaders and people I've talked to, they are very vocal about how much Bermuda is a nemesis. So, thank you for answering that.
Yeah, no problem. I matter of fact, may even do that here, right? So may even do that here, so it can be seen if we decide to leave the garden here, right? But we'll definitely probably, when that gets built over there, if that's not the parents' quarters, that might be there too. But either way, we're going to have to stop some of these summer grasses from penetrating. But we're also standing in a grazing paddock, right?
Yeah.
So it's already here, so let it stay and do its job for that.
Yeah. Awesome. So something else that I'm looking at in front of me is an orchard that was previously here. What are some steps that you can take now before we get into full-blown spring to prepare either an orchard or trees? This one's I think a pecan. What are some steps and things you can do now to prepare?
So I'll just flip the camera around so you can kind of see, right? So there's quite a bit of orchard here. Like there's a lot of trees, and so this, I'm coming in, there's already this garden and there's already this orchard here, right? So I'm kind of taking it over. It's not been like super well maintained for a little bit, but it's a great question. All right, so I think of this a little differently for this particular orchard, because it's all stone fruits. And pomes, right?
Yeah.
So it's apples, apricots. There's some persimmons in there too. Apples, apricots. Right. It's basically stone fruits and pomes.
Right.
And so for me, this is with only organic methods in the central part of the United States, there's not a really good way to keep any of the moth larvae and the plum curculio, however you pronounce that critter, to like get out. So I want to say it's like oriental fruit moth, codling moth maybe is in here too, and then like plum curculio. So it gets heavily infested.
Yeah.
Now they're still edible.
Right.
They just got larvae in them, so you got to cut them out, or some people are just like, it's extra protein. And there's enough here, like like the previous owner, John, he definitely is thinking market value and things
Right.
like that. And so, this is a relatively good sized orchard that would, what I'm about to say is what I would do getting ready to prepare,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't want to do to the whole thing, right?
Right.
So like we've talked about before, and this may be a question, you know, later, like what's the mindset and the goals. I'm not looking towards this as the money making ventures are
Right.
tertiary.
Right.
Like first is like you see that little kid over there, that little girl, like she's got to be fed.
Yeah.
Right. You
Absolutely.
know, I've got to be fed. So looking at it in such a way where how are we going to homestead where we have a lot of food for us?
Yeah.
And then I need to know some good recipes because this is quite a lot of stone fruit pumped.
Yeah.
So the only organic method that I have come up with that will keep the pests out is just pick what trees I actually want to maintain.
Okay.
For up until drop date.
Right.
And then use the fruit bags to protect them from being eaten.
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, to do that to all of these, yeah, I could, but that's going to be a full-time job.
Right.
So I'm going to come through here. I'm going to selectively choose which ones are going to be 100% that we want to eat, that we don't want larvae in.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And you got to put the fruit bags on at the right time.
Yeah.
Right. And then so that way it keeps any pests out. And, you know, one mature apple tree gives you way more apples than most families can eat, right? So, you know, maybe 2 or 3 apples, 2 or 3 apricots, 2 or 3 peaches, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the rest of them, let them go.
Right.
Irrigation is a thing to be concerned about too. But then run chickens through this whole system. And so this orchard is actually going to change into a large. This will be probably the engine of this permaculture demonstration site. So
right.
It's a big chicken system.
Yeah.
And so it's going to have, you know, it's a laneway system that I've come up with. I call it the pendulum system. So it's just a chicken tractor that goes back and forth down one laneway, and then poultry netting, right? That moves with them. So they come out during the day and then they go into their hotel at night. I mean, we've got hawks, owls, bobcats, you know, coyotes, raccoons, like everything's gonna, dogs, right?
Yeah.
So they've got to be protected into a really nice trailer style chicken coop with, you know, ideally I'll put expanded metal at the bottom so nothing can kind of come penetrate through there, but all the manure can
you can still have the manure drop.
Yeah.
So you're kind of hitting this on a multi-front plan. You're dealing with the pest, you're still trying to conserve food for you and your family, but you're also identifying trees that you want to keep and protect, but also you've got other trees that are there to still feed the pest and feed the other stuff,
feed the chickens,
until you can, you know, build it better in a way. But yeah, that's awesome. That's
and the orchard system, some of it may stay orchard and some of it may hybridize into food forest.
Right.
Some of the trees may come out and become pasture. Some of that will become crops for overwintering, like sweet potatoes and whatnot. And then the chickens will run through all those systems, being fed by the different the small micro ecosystems in there, right? You know, and all the edges that are there. And so it's like a mutually beneficial system.
Yeah.
And there'll be the egg chickens, right? So we get eggs from them.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's that's turning into a pond at some point, and so that will end up, you know, going back and forth, you know, taking goldfish and crawdads from there, and, you know, bringing them over to the chicken system. And so that way, you know, we've got a lot of fruits being fed to the chickens that have different drop dates.
Yeah.
Right. We can grind up some of these pecans, or we could just de-hull them or crack them open and throw them to them.
Yep.
Because we got quite a few pecans on here too.
Yep.
Goldfish, crawdads, the algae that grows in there as well. any I'm not going to purposely put duckweed in there, but if
Right.
it goes in there, or Zola, that comes out too, right? And so the point is, not 30 to 60 chickens can be fed easily. When I say easily after it's mature,
Yeah.
through the land.
That's gonna be some happy chickens. That sounds like a
praise the Lord
plethora buffet, man.
Yeah,
They're gonna be happy. But at the same time, the chickens, with what they do naturally, they're gonna build the soil. They're within the orchard, and the things that they're being fed, all those minerals and nutrients are being spread out through the land as well, which is just gonna make everything better. So
that's what I hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you notice there's a slope, right? So
Right.
it's purposeful.
So
yeah, the
slope's going
nutrients
this way.
from all of that come down here into the grazing pastures, and then this will also get hit with manure with dairy cow and sheep.
Oh man, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Well, it's the hope.
Yeah.
See, Patrick, I've made plans, and
Yeah.
things have happened, but Faithful's here for a good while in this area, so I should be here at least until she's an adult.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The Lord's good.
Amen. He sure is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, with everything we're talking about, I've been taking Nicholas's course, learning all these different concepts and things. So with orchards and chickens and the slope, learning the course, I'm kind of in the middle of it, but it's being able to see it, talk to Nicholas himself. It's really cool. You really grasp the things that are in that course. I don't know if that's something you want to mention, if people would be interested, or if they can learn these concepts, or they can implement these principles and these things on their own homestead, on their own land, what to look for, things like that. Because I know for me, man, it's got gears going. I'm seeing stuff, I'm like, man, this is cool. I can implement it on my own eventually,
Oh man. Well, man, thank you for saying that. I'm glad that you gave a testimonial of how you're going through the course and what it's doing for you. But yeah, just go to schoolofpermaculture.com and look at the online courses, and I've got my online permaculture design course there. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
man. Yeah,
absolutely.
you and Leanne.
Yeah, us both are taking it. It's great.
Super great. Yeah.
So,
all right, so we wrapping it up?
yeah,
All
that's
right,
it.
cool. Q&A.
Yeah.
All right, man, bless you guys. Keep permaculturing. I love you. Jesus loves you, and we'll pray for you in his name. We'll see you next time.